It's time to dig deep into this must-see miniseries. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things that When They See Us got right and wrong.
We keep talking about it. If we keep telling and showing and sharing these stories, I believe that we get to a place where people will be intolerant of what is happening and demand change.
For this list, we're looking at aspects of this Netflix limited series that are true to the real-life Central Park 5 case, as well as a few creative liberties that were taken.
Watching this is painful, but it's necessary. This needs to be watched.
Yeah.
Number 10. Korey Wise had a transgender sister. Right.
What are you fighting about now?
Your brother belongs in a crazy house. Your brother wants to be your sister.
In a show full of devastating moments, one of the biggest gut punches comes when Korey Wise learns about the murder of his transgender sister Marcy.
We regret to inform you that your brother has passed away. Norman.
Quote, Korey really did have a sister who transitioned, according to Isis King, who portrays Marcy in the series. Dolores Wise, played by Niecy Nash, did struggle to accept her daughter's gender identity, kicking her out of the house.
This is my house, Norman.
Marcy, okay? It's Marcy!
Marcy shared a close bond with her younger brother, however. Since Marcy's name was misreported by the police, the exact nature of her murder remains a mystery to the public. Nevertheless, director Ava DuVernay reportedly worked closely with the Wise family to honor her memory. The depiction of Marcy was well received by Vanity Wise, Korey's younger sister who's also transgender.
I'm done with everything here. Except for you.
Number 9. Why Raymond Santana went out. Right. In the miniseries, young Raymond Santana, played by Matias Reyes, simply decides to go out with his friends on April 19, 1989, the same night the Central Park jogger case erupted.
Police operator 414, raise emergency.
When They See Us does hint at a tragic bit of irony from Raymond's story, though. It was his father, portrayed by John Leguizamo, who encouraged Raymond to go to the park that ill-fated evening.
I'm sorry. I gotta work. I was sleeping.
Always sleep well with your kid out running loose in the park?
You know, my son never gave me no problems.
Except when he breaks the law, right?
Raymond Santana Sr. apparently thought the park would be a safer environment for his son than the streets of New York.
I told him, too much trouble in the corner. Go to the park. I sent her to that park that night. So I feel guilt too.
Unfortunately, this suggestion would change the course of their lives forever. In a 2019 interview, Raymond described his relationship with his father as, quote, good. However, Raymond believes his dad, quote, still probably blames himself, but he doesn't speak about it.
He just went to the park with some friends, okay? He just went to the park with some because I told him to go. I said, there's too much trouble in the corner, so why don't you go to the park?
Number 8. Where Yusuf Salaam and Korey Wise got picked up. Wrong.
Hey, you got ID? Huh?
Yeah. Only ID I have is my bus pass.
Well, let's see it.
Fits a description.
The show depicts Korey Wise, played by Jarrell Jerome, as an innocent kid who was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
What's your name?
Korey Wise?
He's not on the list.
Take him.
You want to go downtown with your buddy? We'll be right back.
This is true, although the place is changed in the miniseries. In the first episode, Korey is seen on the street with Yusuf Salaam, played by Ethan Harisi. When the cops pick up Yusuf, Korey agrees to accompany his friend to the precinct. In reality, Korey informed Yusuf that the police were searching for him. The two retreated to Yusuf's apartment, but the detectives were already waiting outside the front door. While the location is altered, the scene otherwise stays true to what actually happened. The cops led Korey to believe that he wasn't on the suspect list, motivating him to tag along.
You could come downtown with your buddy. You'll be right back.
We went to the precinct, and I came home 7 years later. He came home 13 years later.
Number 7. The authorities called the Central Park 5 animals. Right. Throughout the miniseries, the authorities repeatedly call the 5 male suspects, quote, animals.
And to think we were going to release these animals to family court and put them back on the streets.
In the Ken Burns documentary, The Central Park 5, Kevin Richardson recounted his violent arrest. saying that he was frightened by the cops and tried to run. Richardson remembers being subsequently tackled and hit with a police helmet. When Richardson asked what was going on, he recalled that an arresting officer referred to him as a, quote, little animal.
And he said, no. Didn't I tell you not to run? Like you little animal or something.
This seemed to indicate that the authorities had already deemed Kevin guilty before even questioning him. In addition to law enforcement, journalists and demonstrators frequently describe the five as, quote, animals.
Demonstrators, people just shouting, rapists, you animal, you deserve to be alive. It just felt like the whole world hated us.
Reporters also wrongfully tossed around hate-filled words like, quote, bloodthirsty, quote, savages, and, quote, human mutations. Number 6, Antron McCray's dad told him to lie. Right.
I need you to do what the police want you to do. You gotta say what they want you to say.
They want me to lie.
I don't think of it like that.
In one of the miniseries' most shocking scenes, Bobby McCray, played by Michael K. Williams, desperately yells at his son Antron, played by Khalil Harris. Bobby instructs Antron to do whatever the cops say so he can go home. Although Antron pleads his innocence, his father pressures him into giving the authorities the answers they want.
You will go along. Do you understand me? Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
This is sadly all too true.
They pulled my father aside. Then my father came back in the room, was like, he just changed. He just changed, like, listen, he was like, tell these people what they want to hear so you can go home. If he just would have stood his ground, I would have told the truth. I would have stuck to the truth.
While Bobby later testified in his son's defense, the case was too much for him to handle, and he abandoned his family.
My father, as the trial came, he left me and my mother, disappeared. I couldn't understand, and I hated him after that.
Antron once looked up to his father as his friend and hero, but not anymore. Speaking of his father years later, Antron said, quote, sometimes I love him. Most of the time, I hate him. Antron never forgave Bobby for failing him. Number 5, rioting in Central Park. Wrong.
Come on, man, we're going to the park. Let's go.
The Central Park Five were wrongfully convicted for the atrocities Trisha Miley endured.
I ain't doing this like this.
What other way they ever do us?
When They See Us makes this clear, although a few unflattering details are overlooked, specifically about Raymond Santana. When the five were finally cleared in 2002, Raymond reportedly confessed to committing a mugging in the park that night, whereas in the show, Raymond is depicted as a completely innocent bystander who flees when the night turns violent. Some outlets argue that the miniseries underplayed the April 19th riot, noting that over 30 youths reportedly took part in aggressive crimes, for which dozens were arrested, and the five could have been involved.
What you gonna do? A bunch of white dudes jumped me in the Bronx last week.
The show mostly chalks this up to some kids harmlessly heckling cyclists and a select few throwing punches at each other before the cops arrive. Number 4, Linda Fairstein's role. Right. Prosecutor Linda Fairstein was indeed persistent in her pursuit of the five, despite the lack of DNA evidence.
But the decision was we can still prosecute this case, and the argument we will make to the jury is just because we didn't get all of them doesn't mean we didn't get some of them.
Even today, the exonerated five blame her for the years they lost. But Felicity Huffman's vilifying portrayal also simplifies an injustice that was about more than one prosecutor. It was the entire system that failed them.
Their DNA isn't there. It's not anywhere.
So there must have been another attacker. One must have gotten away.
You honestly believe that?
I do if it helps a jury believe what we know is true.
While in real life there's no record of Fairstein using the sort of bigoted language she does in the miniseries,
what did these animals do between here and here?
She maintained even as recently as 2002 that she thought the actual perpetrator of the crime, quote, ran with that pack of kids. However, after the miniseries came out, Fairstein wrote in a Wall Street Journal article that she now agrees Matias Reyes acted alone. But she maintains her belief that the five committed other crimes that night.
We helped make sure they got what they deserved. And I'll be damned if I'm gonna lose a wink of sleep over it.
Number 3, Matias Reyes confessed. Right. It may sound like a storytelling device, but Matias Reyes did reportedly fight with Korey over a TV while incarcerated at Rikers Island.
He said, I would like to apologize to you. We had a fight, Rikers Island, about a TV, so forth. So we said, it ain't about nothing, man. We had. It's not gonna free neither one of us. Don't worry about it.
After encountering Korey again years later, Matias confessed that the five had been wrongfully convicted for what he solely did to Trisha Miley back in 1989.
Was anyone with you during the assault in question?
No, I did this. We all have to pay for our sins. I sinned bad. I deserve to pay for mine.
Upon further investigation, the authorities found that Matias' DNA matched the crime scene's evidence. The crime not only aligned with his profile, but Matias also provided insight that only the attacker could have known about. While some have debated why he finally took responsibility after all this time, Matias claims that he wanted to do the right thing upon finding Jesus in prison. This is also the explanation that When They See Us provides.
You got somebody else paying for mine. Nobody else should be paying for mine.
Number 2. Donald Trump's ad. Right.
You better believe that I hate the people that took this girl and raped her brutally. You better believe it. Trump put his money where his mouth is by taking out this full-page ad in 4 New York City newspapers.
Throughout the Central Park jogger trial, many expressed their desire to see the five convicted, including the future 45th President of the United States.
I've said on occasion, even about myself, if I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage today.
Donald Trump didn't just want them behind bars, however. In May 1989, he took out a full-page ad in 4 New York newspapers with the headlines, "Bring back the death penalty and bring back our police." Trump further wrote, quote, "I want to hate these murderers and I always will. I am not looking to psychoanalyze or understand them. I am looking to punish them." Even 30 years later, long after the five were exonerated, Trump refused to apologize for the ad, saying, quote,
"You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case. So we'll leave it at that."
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Central Park Five's confessions were coerced. Right.
They was coaching me and I was writing it down.
He just fed it to me. Well, what did he do? What did Antron McCray do? He gave me the names, I put them in.
According to the Innocence Project, roughly 25% of exonerated convicts admitted to crimes they didn't commit. Watching this miniseries, you'll understand why.
Where did you see the lady?
Who? One lady.
Kevin, Antron, and Raymond saw you messing around with the lady.
While certain details have been debated, the authorities did ultimately coerce the five into accepting blame for Trisha Miley's attack.
To make sure that people know that I wasn't involved.
Were you trying to touch her?
Not really.
Didn't you tell the police earlier today that you had tried to grab her, and that's when you got scratched?
They reportedly achieved this through various scare tactics, depriving the boys of food and sleep. Their parents were not present throughout these interrogations, and after nearly 30 hours combined, the boys just wanted to go home.
Now that I've advised you of your rights, are you willing to tell me the truth about the woman who was assaulted in Central Park on the night of April 19th, 1989?
4 of the boys all had their coerced statements videotaped with their parents present, with one of them supposedly only confessing verbally. But this was still used against him. Although they asserted their innocence going forward, it would be 13 years until the Central Park Five could call themselves the Exonerated Five. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.